Tonight, a CTV News exclusive. Inside the mind of Canada's worst mass shooter through the eyes of his former spouse. The terror endured by his closest confidant.
You can't judge anybody, because when you're in that situation, you're being manipulated.
And what drove Gabriel Wortman over the edge before his rampage? High-stakes talks at the White House and the deep divide over Greenland's future.
We didn't manage to change the American position.
I'm not going to give up options, but it's very important. Greenland's very important for the national security.
How Donald Trump's threat could impact Canada. And Hollywood meets Alberta.
We pride ourselves on being stewards of a sacred site.
Which world-famous tourist hotspot is banking on a bump from a shout-out on a hit TV series?
It was a pleasant surprise.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina.
Good evening. For the first time since Canada's worst mass shooting in the early days of the pandemic, the woman who knew the killer best is fully sharing her story in an exclusive sit-down interview with CTV News. Lisa Banfield was Gabriel Wortman's spouse for 19 years, a relationship that she says began with hope, ended in horror, and carried agonizing moments of torment in between. The rampage lasted 13 terrifying hours. Friends, acquaintances, even complete strangers killed by the Nova Scotia denturist who to this day has the infamous title of being Canada's worst mass shooter. Tell me about how you met Gabriel.
I could see this guy at the bar. He was tall, handsome, you know, turtleneck, black leather jacket, black dress pants. So we looked put together, and he had a nice, kind-looking smile, and I'm like, okay, so I gave him my phone number.
A connection she wrote of in her journal she hoped would be a chance at long-lasting love.
April 21st, 2001. He is such a very handsome man.
How soon after did you move in together?
Within 6 months. It just seemed like we had so much in common, and we were both hard workers, and we both seemed to like the same things.
Just months into their seemingly happy relationship, the first assault.
And then all of a sudden, I get this whack in the face, and I'm just like, I'm stunned, because I'm thinking, like, I've never got hit before. And then he hit me again. He grabbed me by my hair. He's hitting me in the face, and I'm just trying to protect myself so he's not hitting me and yelling at me. And he got me out to the road, and he's hitting me and hitting me. And at this point, I just started screaming.
But Lisa, the victim, didn't want to talk to police.
This is how sick I felt at the time, is I don't want to get him in trouble.
Those who haven't been abused may ask the question, after going through that kind of incident, your life's at stake. Mm-hmm. Why did you go back?
After the first time, where he was so heartfelt in his apology, I truly felt like it was a one-off. But then being with him, and it continued, I stayed because he would be like putting things out there. Like, I know where your family lives, Lisa. And he
threatened your family?
Yes, multiple times.
Sisters Maureen and Janice could only watch helplessly as Wortman cut off family contact. Did you think that he would kill her?
We did. But it didn't change anything, because she wasn't going to change. She was staying with him.
She did. But a pivotal moment, she says, turned that torment into full-fledged terror.
COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
COVID forced the closure of Wortman's clinic. The couple moved into their remote cottage.
He thought the world basically was going to end, and like he's seen on movies how, you know, the apocalypse where people are busting in, you know, stores getting whatever loot they can to survive, and he's thinking they're going to come get all of our stuff.
This all-consuming sense of paranoia. Mm-hmm. Had you seen it before throughout your time together?
Yeah, I would see it sometimes, but not to this extent.
So the pandemic raised it,
that just
amplified
totally
it.
Changed who he was. Like, it just, everything, it just changed.
It almost sounds like he was preparing for the end of days.
Yeah. I'm thinking it's not normal, clearly. And I'm thinking his paranoia, like he's getting crazy at this point. I thought it was nuts.
a glimpse into his dark mind before an unconscionable act of mass murder. And tomorrow we'll tell you how Lisa escaped moments before Wortman's killing spree. And the full 1 hour special, Victim Number 1, The Survivor, will be broadcast Sunday night right after the NFL game on CTV and Crave. To the diplomatic impasse now in Washington, where officials from Greenland met face-to-face with American officials at the White House after Donald Trump's repeated threats to seize the Danish territory. But as CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malbon reports, the delegation from the Arctic island got a chilly reception.
After months of fielding threats, Denmark ramped up its military presence in Greenland with the help of its NATO neighbors, part of a promise to beef up Arctic defense and to counter President Donald Trump's intent on conquering the mineral-rich island, a self-governing territory of Denmark.
Greenland is very important for the national security, including of Denmark. And the problem is not a thing that Denmark can do about it if Russia or China wants to occupy Greenland, but there's everything we can do.
The White House mocking what it calls Greenland's defenses, posting this image of sled dogs.
It is not easy to think innovative about solutions when you wake up every morning to different threats.
It's not easy, but diplomats from Denmark and Greenland delivered a firm message to the U.S. Greenland is not for sale, but is open to expanding America's military footprint on the Arctic island, hoping to ease Trump's security concerns.
We have been pushing for quite a while in NATO for a stronger collective role in Greenland together with a number of allies, and we are eager to work with the U.S. on advancing this agenda.
Even as polls show most Americans don't want to conquer Greenland, Trump isn't budging.
I'm not going to give up options, but it's very important. Greenland is very important for the national security.
And all this talk has Greenlanders on edge.
The United States will try to buy Greenland or they will invade it.
I'm afraid that he will destroy the NATO alliance, and he threatens our kingdom and the Greenlanders.
The delegation says it will meet with the Trump administration again in hopes of addressing security concerns, but with one big red line: as allies and not owned by the United States. Omar?
All right, Joy, thank you. Canadian forces are in Greenland right now, taking part in regular military exercises alongside troops from Denmark and the U.S. As CTV's Heather Wright reports, despite that close coexistence, Donald Trump's quest puts Canada in a precarious position.
Canada's Arctic region is huge, and it's hard to secure, making up roughly 40% of the country's total landmass.
He's going to want to also take over Canada.
Ayu Peter is a Greenlander who lives in Iqaluit. She says Donald Trump's threats to Greenland are a threat to the entire region.
I find it unsettling, and I don't even know the word in English. Yeah, it's a real threat.
The Arctic is vital for North American security. Last year, the federal government pledged billions of dollars in new defense spending, including money for the North. Today, the U.S. ambassador to Canada says the two countries are aligned in their commitment.
We're not moving to a point where we're disagreeing on how to protect the North. We're actually working together to make sure that we are in lockstep.
Part of that cooperation is a deal between Canada, the U.S., and Finland to build icebreakers. But experts say in a vast and mostly uninhabited area, asserting security and Canadian sovereignty must include fostering strong and growing communities as well.
It's really a whole of society approach, working with Northerners, working with territorial governments and the Indigenous people that live in the region to make sure that they have access to the same services.
And while the Trump administration has promised to restore American dominance in the Western Hemisphere, some warn his saber rattling against a NATO member poses a significant risk to international security.
It creates a rupture between the allies, and it really sends a signal to adversaries that we are in chaos.
At the request of Denmark, today France and Germany announced they will be deploying troops to Greenland as part of a European security mission. Omar.
All right, Heather, thank you. The man who has led Quebec since 2018 and his party for more than a decade announced his resignation today, leaving the Coalition Avenir Québec scrambling to find a new leader before the province's election scheduled for October. Here's CTV's Quebec Bureau Chief Geneviève Beauchemin.
Premier Francois Legault said it was the honor of a lifetime to lead Quebec.
Pour le bien du Québec.
But that for the good of his party, and above all for his province, it was time to step down, that Quebecers want change.
Maybe it's just time to move on.
I think he didn't do that bad. At the end, he wasn't so popular.
Once the most popular premier across Canada, Legault has now faced months of spiraling poll results, falling to last place in Quebec. The Parti Québécois, led by Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon and vowing to hold another referendum, is in the lead. Before jumping into politics, Legault co-founded Air Transat. He later co-founded his party, the Coalition Avenir Québec, or CAQ. He won the first of two majority mandates in 2018 with a promise to set aside the separatist federalist divide. His party brought in a law on secularism and led Quebec through the COVID pandemic. His dominant run began to unravel after his second election over a series of crises. In the fall, he faced off against doctors over remuneration and conditions. Two political allies, close friends, left his party over the dispute.
To manage the system.
Today, politicians of all stripes praise Legault's dedication to Quebecers.
For sure, with the decisions that he made, he shaped the future of Quebec.
After a quarter of a century of public service, he now says he wants Quebecers to focus on the economy and the French language. Legault has pledged to stay on until a new leader is elected. This as the Quebec Liberals, too, are looking for a new leader just 9 months away from the next election. Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News, Montreal.
And joining us now is CTV's chief political correspondent, Vassy Kapelos. Vassy, as Legault's popularity has plummeted, the Parti Québécois' popularity has shot up. So what is the prospect of a separatist party returning to power in the province?
Hi, Omar. Well, I think the prospect of a separatist party returning to power was much higher a few days ago than it is today. It's not just Francois Legault's departure. It's Pablo Rodriguez a few weeks ago, the leader of the Liberal Party. It seems like the dynamic in Quebec politics 9 months out from an election has been completely upended. There's a caveat, though. In Quebec, momentum often means a lot, and certainly the PQ has it, right? They're promising a referendum, they're promising change from Francois Legault, and momentum is behind them. The question is whether that momentum will continue to usurp the possibility whomever takes over the CAQ or the Liberal Party are able to describe to Quebecers. And I think therein, wherever the answer lies, will ultimately inform the question of whether or not Canada will once again be dealing with a crisis and a national crisis around unity. Omar?
All right, Vassy, thank you. Prime Minister Mark Carney described Legault as a man who demonstrated the value of thinking big and taking risks, and provincial leaders also weighed in. Ontario's Doug Ford posting, "Thank you, Premier, for your friendship, leadership, and many years of public service." And Alberta's Danielle Smith saying his leadership reflected a deep commitment to his province and to the well-being of the people of Quebec. And another provincial party leader, Bonnie Crombie, has stepped down as the head of the Ontario Liberals, effective immediately. Back in September, after she received a lukewarm endorsement at the party convention, and months after her third-place finish in the provincial election, she pledged to stay on until a new leader was chosen. But there is still no timeline for a leadership contest. In a statement, she says the new year is the right moment for her and the party to move forward. The Prime Minister is now in Beijing for a 4-day visit to China for a sales pitch. But whether that results in better market access to the country will depend on his ability to repair a tense diplomatic relationship. CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver reports from the Chinese capital tonight.
It wasn't long ago that Canada called China a disruptive power. Now the language has softened as Prime Minister Mark Carney's government looks to bring stability back to a frigid diplomatic relationship.
This is a new government with a new Prime Minister, a new foreign policy. In this moment of economic stress for our country, it is necessary for us to diversify our trading partners.
And Carney has made it clear that rethinking includes increasing non-U.S. exports through deeper partnerships with countries like China. And over the next few days, the Prime Minister will be pitching Canada to business and government leaders as a place to invest.
I think that this was a really important opportunity to reset the relationship at a time when we're obviously dealing with a much tougher United States and where our Canadian national interests have to be rethought.
A key area of debate and likely disagreement, Canadian tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles and Chinese tariffs on Canadian canola products. Government officials say it's reasonable to expect progress on so-called trade irritants, but the definitive removal of tariffs is unlikely.
Our ultimate goal is to restore market access to China, have more smoother, predictable trade with our number 2 export market. And so we're looking for signs of progress and resolution on that front.
This trip is all about getting business investment. So far, there are no cultural or heritage events on the schedule. Carney will spend his first full day in Beijing meeting with business leaders. Then he'll transition to China's Great Hall, where he'll meet with government leaders, including the Premier, and participate in 2 signing ceremonies related to energy and climate change. Omar?
Annie Bergeron-Oliver in Beijing, where it is now Thursday morning. Annie, thank you. U.S. President Donald Trump says he's been told Iran has stopped killing protesters, but hasn't withdrawn his threat of military intervention. CTV's Adrian Gobriel on what it means for Iranian Canadians watching nervously from abroad.
As smoke rises above the streets of Tehran, Global Affairs Canada is issuing a clear warning to Canadians in Iran. Get out of the country immediately.
This is a very real threat, and it is escalating.
On January 8th, Iran's government cut the country off from the internet. Since then, Iranians have been risking their lives to share these images of brutality with the world.
It's very emotional. I'm trying not to cry.
Iranian expat Yasaman, who asked that we not use her last name to protect her family in Iran, just received a message today that her aunt was shot in the leg while protesting in Tehran and has now died.
They tried to send her to a hospital, but the supreme leader military is in the hospitals and the doctors are not allowed to operate.
This WhatsApp message from Yasaman's cousin in Iran shares that her aunt bled to death as a result of her wounds.
Many of the doctors have been detained because they tried to help the civilians.
Earlier today, Iran's judiciary head signaled that protesters' trials and executions would be fast-tracked. This comes as U.S. President Donald Trump claimed this afternoon that he's being told the killings in Iran have stopped. Even still, personnel at a key U.S. military base in Qatar have been advised to evacuate by tonight.
The fact that, the United States has pulled out some of their troops in Qatar is indicative that they think that that threat is real.
The protests that broke out on December 28th have reportedly left more than 2,500 dead. The situation growing more dire by the hour.
Because I'm not sure how many more people can die before help is there.
As difficult as it may be to watch the horrors taking place on the streets of Iran, Yasaman is pleading with Canadians not to look away. Omar.
Adrian, thank you. Coming up.
People are scared too. If they call in, if they're going to get shot at.
Who's behind the surge in extortion-related shootings? An overnight shooting in Surrey, BC is being linked to an explosion of new extortion attempts and shootings. CTV's Andrew Johnson now on who could be behind the attacks.
Bullets fired into businesses, homes, and cars to intimidate victims into paying up. It's happening every few days to start 2026 in Metro Vancouver, the latest shooting this morning in Surrey.
This 26 hasn't been a good start for the residents of Surrey.
The victims, primarily South Asian business owners, receive a call or text demanding cash, or their family will be harmed. The criminals reference personal information and routines, like what time the victims' children get home from school.
People are scared too. If they call in, if they're going to get shot at.
It's also happening a lot in Ontario's Peel region, the site of an anti-extortion summit involving government and police last week. In some cases, officials say the suspects are taking direction from gangs in India. That's where BC Premier David Eby is this week on a trade mission that was criticized.
Surrey right now is going through a huge amount of extortion threats from India. Unless you start to address the issue and help us, then what's the point of doing any trading?
Experts say violent extortion has been historically attractive to gang members as a low investment for a potentially high reward.
Old school mafia, Hells Angels would do shakedowns. Now we're just seeing a technology change, I think, is where you can use social media to send the initial threat.
He adds the people pulling the trigger in extortion shootings are often victims themselves, vulnerable and recruited by gangs to do the dirty work. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
Still ahead, how a car made in Canada stole the show south of the border. Four astronauts are on their way back to Earth tonight because of a medical issue on board the International Space Station.
Be ready when you are for closing the Dragon hatch.
NASA's SpaceX Crew 11 closed the hatch as they departed earlier this evening after their mission was cut short. It is the first emergency return in the orbiting laboratory's 25-year history. And a day after Donald Trump said the U.S. doesn't need cars made in Canada, the Windsor, Ontario-made Dodge Charger won North American Car of the Year at the Detroit Auto Show. The Stellantis plant's union president called it fantastic news. Still ahead, a Hollywood homage to Canada. Which Canadian landmark just got a big shout out from a hit TV show? A UNESCO heritage site in Alberta is hoping to attract a bigger audience thanks to a new hit Hollywood TV series. Here's CTV's Tyson Fedor.
Nestled at the foot of the Rocky Mountains is Head Smashed in Buffalo Jump. The historical Indigenous site showcases exhibits, trails, and lookout points of where the Blackfoot people use their knowledge of buffalo behavior to kill their prey for food.
We pride ourselves on being stewards of a sacred site. Bring more understanding of what the southern Alberta landscape has to offer.
The site, located west of Fort Macleod, was peppered into some dialogue between two ER doctors on the Season 2 premiere of HBO Max's show, The Pit.
Where you going? Head smashed in Buffalo Jump.
Captain Crunch flying squirrel socks. Are we talking in code or you having a stroke?
It's an Aboriginal UNESCO heritage site in Alberta.
We had no idea. It was a pleasant surprise.
It's unclear how the writers ended up featuring Head Smashed in Buffalo Jump for Noah Wile's character, Dr. Michael Rabinovich's script, but was centered around discussion of taking a sabbatical. However, that scene that aired last week has sparked a flurry of visitors to the park.
We watched The Pit. We love it. It's a great show. Big fans of ER, big fans of Noah Wile. Complete reference out of the blue. Got us really excited, so we came down for the day and check it out. We've had a ball. It's awesome.
Travel Alberta has also featured the scene in a recent video. The Pit recently won several Golden Globes, including Best TV Series for Drama. Now, staff of the world-famous site are hopeful the international attention draws out even more curious travelers. Tyson Fedor, CTV News, near Fort Macleod.
And that's a snapshot of this Wednesday for all of us at CTV National News. Thank you for watching. Good night, and see you tomorrow.